I'm Mary Bruce. I'm with the Making Foundation, and the Making Foundation is a nonprofit in downtown Roanoke, Virginia, that is focused on providing an opportunity for folks to have an opportunity to learn with using their hands to build. Someone referred to it recently as manual literacy, and I really picked up on that because that was something that made a lot of sense to me as far as just being able to think in a three-dimensional environment and then also execute actions that would help you fix errors and mistakes. Our target audience is our children from 8 to 17 years old. We find what Mary Burge was talking about actually focuses a lot on what we are working on being trained to do, which is to help kids recognize the amygdala and the hypothalamus as fight and flight systems of response in order to work their way through adolescence and into adulthood. The function for that would be to provide an opportunity for a kid to find their place in the workforce and find a way to be independent on their own, but by doing that with their actual interests. So when kids come to our location, it's actually in a refurbished grocery store. It used to be a Save-A-Lot, and people still come there and ask us if we have spicy sausages, and we do not. We do have a lot of, we use wood as our main material that we work with, mainly because it's easy to come by, and it's also something that if you mess up, there is typically more. Beyond that, it provides a lot of other curricular stuff. So we're working with inner city youth. Not all of them are at risk, air quotes, all kids are at risk of something. So it's, but some kids are not getting an opportunity to learn with their hands. We see kids from all over the Roanoke area. One of the groups that we're most familiar with is the Noel C. Taylor Learning Academy, and that is an alternative high school where it's kind of a last shot high school before kids are typically sent to what would be a juvenile detention center. And in that area, they no longer qualify for vocational training. How many of you all had access to vocational training as a youth? Can you do a raise of hands? Okay, so quite a few. Nate, did you? Yeah, Nate did too.
It was there. It was there.
Okay, so I did too. I grew up in Wythe County, so we had access to it, but it was very stigmatized. So if you went over there to the vocational school, even though they had things like engineering going on and robotics and stuff like that, it was very stigmatized on who went over there and why they went over there. And that is unfortunate. And I see a dog, and I'm very happy to see that little dog. So talking to people in groups is not something that I do very well. Box breathing is something that I've been doing since I was a kid to deal with stuff like this. So if I trail off, I'm having a moment of regaining control over my own anxieties. But in our school, what we do is we actually have kids, they come into this place. It doesn't look like school at all. We don't really have a whole lot of rules other than don't hurt each other, and nobody gets to bleed for fun here. So it's you get a certain level of responsibility as soon as you walk through the doors, just automatically, which is completely foreign to most children because a lot of it has come out with a lot of their experience is no, 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 and in our environment, most of it is yes or no, not because we don't want you to, but if you do that, then this thing will fall over, and I think you wanted to actually build something that would stand up. So yes, you can choose to do that, but if you want this thing to stand up, then we got to figure out another way to do that. So the deductible for all of their education. Look at that, Joanna. What are you doing down there? So look at her go. So that's the storefront for our school. The Making Foundation is we're a nonprofit, and so we sit over what we're hoping will be multiple locations for kids to kind of come in and learn. we get kids that will get kicked out of their regular school day, not intentionally to come to us, but they then will come to our school rather than go home when they've been suspended, so that they can come and finish working on their projects with no further prompt. So that's pretty exciting to know that you can maybe not live up to the expectation that you're having in school. You get sent home, you come to our school, they know that they're not getting in trouble and that they're in a safe environment where they can explore and learn. We do a lot of stuff with algebra and science. The things, I don't know how many of you guys asked in algebra, when will I ever use this? And the answer is in that shop class. And so while we're building things that they want to build, I'll go back to that. They choose what they build. So whatever niche weird, I don't know how many of you guys have kids or have talked to a child, they're all interested in really wildly different things. Look at this go. I'm not doing any of this. It's like I got 2 board members on this call with me or something. This is awesome. I'm just gonna buckle my seatbelt and keep going. So that was an example of what we're trying to show to these kids on how to create an industry for themselves. The experience that I had as a young person was there were a set of standardized tests. And if you did not test in first grade with a certain level of aptitude, then you were given a very different education than other kids. And that was what they had. I'm not negating anything about that, but it does create a different environment. So if you didn't care about a test score and you wanted to draw on the back of your paper at the end of the test rather than care about the test, then by proxy, you got put into a different class group, not because you didn't know the material, but because you did not care about that particular thing. So when you get to choose your own curriculum and you get to choose your own project, I want to build a video game console so that my video game gets proper circulation. Okay, cool. I want to build a table so that my family has a place to eat. Okay, cool. I want to build a wig stand for my uncle who does drag shows. Fantastic, let's do it. So all of these kids are kind of coming together and being able to see kids from across the room who are from different quadrants of the city, which is an opportunity that is incredible. And they're getting to do that prior to entering into the workforce. There's inside of our shop. Look. So that was the Rotarians came in and they got to build, which I think is a traveling, that's your traveling, that's this year's emblem.
That's our theme for this year, and they traveled as far as to one of our buildings right now. They were supposed to go to several different places, and then COVID happened.
I'm so impressed with those. Your theme for this year actually hits on a lot of me from having an art education background. The color scheme, everything about that hits on a whole bunch of different metaphors as far as building the future, and it being out of primary colors and everything is pretty incredible. I'm going to take a second because I'd like to hear questions, just because that seems like fun.
Does anybody have any questions for Mary?
I do. Is this only in Roanoke, or have you guys expanded out into other places? Like I'm in Richmond, and we've got like Makers RVA and stuff like that, but nothing that I've like something just solely based towards kids.
Yeah, so the answer to your question is we want to. The reason that we call ourselves the Making Foundation and then that particular location is Maker Mart is because we are hoping to have multiple locations. It initially started in different boroughs of Roanoke, but the state of Virginia in general is what we're interested in helping. The educators at our school did not have a particularly fun time. We all have different levels of education, but none of us had an okay time going through the standard K through 12 system because we're all physical thinkers. So we like to dissect those things in order to really learn curriculum. Feeling geometry and learning geometry are totally different things. how can you possibly know geometry for real without actually touching it, you know? I see there's somebody in the chat. This is Pamela.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that same question too, just because.
Pamela, yeah, Amber, Pamela, you know, I'm excited to be able to answer that question one day.
Oh yeah, and the funding. So both of these questions are spot on to what I was going to ask.
Thank you. So the summer programming, we haven't called it off yet, and the reason is that we've got 4,000 square feet, and it is a huge open space, and our tables are enormous. So it's just a hope and a dream and a prayer that it might actually work. Our summer programs are actually a huge part of our fundraisers. So we hate to call it yet, but it's moving into, you know, we're seeing Germany, you know, they canceled Oktoberfest, so still haven't quite decided yet. And I think more than anything, just for morale purposes, on trying to figure out how to do that. We also have a huge parking lot. So from our slogan for this whole thing is make the most of it. So I think we're trying to make the most on maybe they were going to run all summer long. So the possibility that at least one of them might be able to still happen is you know, who knows? So yes and no on the summer programs. The funding, we were founded in 2016. And from 2016 until just recently, our funding had been primarily through the Roanoke City school system. In the last year, that funding changed a little bit. We still receive funding from them, but not quite as much. We relied on the Roanoke City public school system to receive their own grants in order to pay for our funding, and they were not approved for that this particular go round. So we kind of started to scramble this past year. So we started to open it up. It was actually pretty cool because we started working with other nonprofits. We started really looking at our entire systems and how can we do our system and stick with our mission with providing that physical opportunity for kids that would not have that, so that they can take that with them for forever. So our funding now is a lot different, and it's a lot of shake and bake, like on a literal level. Amber and Tim came to us by way of Joanna. Joanna's a shake and baker. Like, we've got some board members that are clutch players on trying to provide we're all skilled trade people that have taken it into fine art realms and into high-end manufacturing industries. So all of these things, healthcare, all this stuff, all the guts of the stuff is what we're trying to do in there. And in those different locations, we're hopeful to have different mediums. So like right now, we can't really do a whole lot of fiber art because dust is aplenty. So if you're trying to make something with fiber arts, it gets pretty dusty. I can see that where those things will happen in the future, the need for those things will not end. The cancellation of the standardized testing, I studied education in school, so when I saw that they canceled the SOL test this year, that was pretty exciting. And from an educator's aspect, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, this is something that we need to latch on to and see if we can find a way to make this change. The systems that Mary #1 had talked about was also something that we do during that. So because we get a lot of at-risk youth that are coming from to us from such incredible circumstances that it's incredible, like, you can't even process it on a day-to-day level. Our school year this past year started out with the murder of one of our kids' siblings. So going through that whole year and watching those kids kind of deal with the grief that happened pretty close to where our school was. So them kind of dealing with all of that, talking about emotions and grief. So on top of all that, they're teenagers. So they're thinking about boyfriends and girlfriends and, you know, not having anyone at home to say, you know what, you know, you feel this way right now, but really it's a grief thing, and kind of going through all those things together, almost like camp counselors, like school counselors, focusing on what they're good at. So they come to us and they're having a bad day. That's okay. You're having a bad day, but you're still really good at you're an adhesive specialist, my friend. Like this, whatever chemistry that you're seeing in these adhesives, this is your niche, you know, like what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? So that they can hear not jargon that is not true, but actually have someone highlight to them, these are the things that you're good at. And if you enjoy it, let's find a way for you to make money doing that so that you can be happy in your future.
So they haven't really been or stagnant or stale through all of this. They have a YouTube channel, and every day at 10 a.m. they're on Facebook. It's usually either Mary, Kyle, Aaron, or Aaron's wife, London, and they're doing projects that you can do at home with your kids or your grandkids or your nieces and nephews.
Yeah, even you as an adult, like I still have fun doing that. The 10-minute breaks that Mary was talking about, that the dopamine that she's talking about is that creative juice. Something that is not based in a reality is something that will provide a pretty quick dose of dopamine. So if you're taking a cereal box after you ate the entire box of cereal in 10 minutes, no one's counting. Take the box and then start cutting it apart, and then you can make a puzzle. Like it gets pretty fun just doing things for the process rather than going for a goal. And those things, what we're doing several different layers of, we're trying to develop a workforce, but beyond that, we want to develop happy, healthy humans that have an ability to recover from mistakes, find goals, mitigate issues. If this doesn't work, let's find another way and make the most out of what's going on. Our programming on Facebook has changed just a little bit. We go live on Thursday mornings. We have guest creators. No, it's okay. It just happened this week. I just found out about it like 20 minutes ago. So our YouTube channel is very active, and the email that Amber sent out was graciously included links to our YouTube channel. I would love for anybody, even if you're not in the mood to watch it, if you can just let it play, that would be great. Maybe do a thumbs up. I don't know. But there is some pretty weird stuff on there that'll get your brain churning.
And also other programs that listen at me, I'm trying to sell it. I'm on the board. Anyway, other programs that they have had in the past and will continue after all this COVID crap stops, is they had a parents' night out on Friday nights, and it was worth every penny because you can drop your children off, and it's $30 for the first and $15 for the second, right, Mary? Is that right?
That sounds great.
$35 for the first or $15 for the second, or something like that. But that's cheaper than a babysitter. And
yeah, I've been lobbying for a price increase. 30 and 50 sounds fantastic. That's what
but it's cheaper than a babysitter, but they also get to make something with their hands, and they get to interact with other kids that are not like their neighbors or kids they go to school with. And then they also have adult classes that they were doing. They were doing welding, and I was getting ready to take welding, and then COVID happened, and I'm sad because I want to be a welder so bad.
That's coming back. That's going to be, I think that will probably be our biggest fundraiser. The part about the kids that I appreciate the most is because the part about the particular adults that we're getting in the space to work with the kids, we're going through trauma-informed care training, which I'm not sure if you guys have heard of, but they're implementing that through the Roanoke City public school system. But essentially it is, rather than reprimanding children for the myriad of ways that used to be called acting out or starved for attention is what they used to call it. Essentially, it's more of a talk through mechanism where if someone is acting particularly outlandish or whatever they would call it, we would walk through that journey with them so that they can find mechanisms to find ways to work through those emotions on their own, like the box breathing that Mary was talking about, and also finding your own personal interests. Funding for the future, we've got ties to, we're working with someone on a federal level, hopeful to get funding through that. I am learning how to write grants. I avoided writing my entire career in school. So And you can tell I'm really good at forming paragraphs that make sense. So it's okay.
I'm sure Pam can teach you a thing or two.
From her question, I agree. Yes, I think that Pam, you seem very well spoken. Please help me.
I write grants, so let me know.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a lot of
Like
them.
Wonderful.
That's my job, so let me know.
It has been let known. Can I call you? What's going on? What do you got going on tomorrow?
Well, I was just sitting here scrolling through a couple that I had received today, and there's 2 that you qualify for. So I'll send them over to Amber so she can send them your way.
I'm
That sounds
unmuted.
fantastic.
Yeah, Mary, this is the Pam that I was telling you that I needed to introduce you to. So there, you both were introduced now.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, Pam. I've heard a lot about you, and I'm very glad to meet you.
And Joanna didn't introduce you.
Listen, Joanna's been put on a slideshow and doing some kind of like really educated Vanna White thing.
Yeah, it was. It was on a turntable today.
Oh my gosh.
That's so awesome. Take it off mute. I didn't hear what you said.
She's gonna echo. She gotta get
I
away.
said I've been busy with Zoom today. It's been a Zoom day.
It has been a Zoom day.
It has been a Zoom day.
We started our first Zoom at 7:50 this morning, so.
Oh.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I almost forgot about that. Hey, Mary, so I wanted to ask, and I'm sure everybody, like, I'm glad Pam caught on, but what is us as individuals, how can we help? I mean, what can we do, or what do you need, or?
I thank you for asking. That's a generous offer, and probably the easiest thing that would be helpful is for those the YouTube channel for those to either play or be watched by you all. If you can like it, that would be great. I do think that with proper social media analytics, it's possible that we will be able to tag brands of materials that we use, like for potential sponsorship. The thing that costs us a lot of money is buying not the actual wood or the steel, it is the glue and snacks and sanitary supplies, soaps and things like that. And then beyond that, sharing information about, like Pam chiming in on being a grant writer. She can clue me in on a couple of tips and things to look out for. If I've got educators out there, if you can talk to me about actual curriculum. I was raised by an educator, so I know a little bit, and I studied education, so I know a little bit there too, but actually tying it back in so that we can get both manufacturing industry. I'd like for them to kind of put their foot where their mouth is on having a lack of employees. But also, I also would hope that education world will see that they don't have time to do that stuff because they have so much on their plate, and then it is a good rec time where you're not sacrificing your curriculum, but you're also getting a kid to be able to do that work-based, hands-on learning, critical thinking type things that they're not able to get done in school. So your areas of specialty all apply to this. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, this is related, and that's the coolest part about it. So whatever you've got, I got ears, and I luckily have ADD and will listen to you while I do 4 other things. I may ask you to repeat a couple of things, but so share any ideas that you've got, and I'll absorb them and put them into play.
Awesome. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? And I'll resend out all the links to people who didn't get it, and but I'll send it out again. So like Nate, I'll send it to you, and Brad, and Preston already knows.
I do want to share one experience that I had right before. Oh, sorry, Preston, were you gonna say something?
No,
Sorry,
he's just waving.
So one experience that I had right before this menagerie began was I had a kid. We do a fiscal literacy program through this. So in our shop, we've got different types of wood. You get an idea of projects come in through the internet, and then these kids can choose to do them for money. Most of the time, these kids take their own projects home because they want a lamp and they want a table and they want things for themselves, but they can actually be hired by the community to do a project. So I had a kid who was hired to rebuild a birdhouse, and he rebuilt it. It was incredible. Dunzo. Then I had to help him go through and make an invoice. Okay, how much wood did you use? What does that cost per whatever? And what were the materials that you used? How many hours did you put into it? How much do you think that you're worth? That's a huge one, because us, even as adults, have a hard time coming up with that. Even trained adults, how much are you worth? And then beyond that, so I trained him how to negotiate on, this is what your actual cost was. Do you think that this person's going to actually pay you that? Maybe not. I said, okay, well, we'll keep you a pen with you, and then we'll cross out, and then I said, you got to let them have a moment of uncomfortable silence before they say, well, I was really thinking about paying 200 rather than 250. Well, thank you so much. It took me a week longer to get this done for you, and I appreciate your time. So let me cross out these 3 items, and then we'll call it 200. Okay, so all of that was a facilitated conversation that went from someone not being able to introduce themselves with their own name to being able to negotiate and sell a project that they had commissioned, built, and then presented to a client that they had never met before, which was crazy, because I don't know how many of y'all had to go and get fired from 3 jobs because you didn't know how to do that, but I worked in a car dealership right out of college, so that was a big deal. It was pretty fun.
I love you.
I appreciate you. It's so good to see all your faces. Sorry I keep pausing. I'm just like, look at all these humans.
I know.
Look at all of them.
I think that's why I love Zoom, but by the 3rd or 4th Zoom of the day, you're like, right, Joanna? Look at her
All
face.
I
She's
want
like,
to do is zoom,
zoom, zoom.
You already figured out. What if she's not even there? Like, what if she just propped her cell phone like up in front of?
I know. I miss going into that place. I miss people.
So when things are back, we're hoping to have some actual fundraisers at the facility where you guys would be invited cordially to come and visit. And I'm looking for volunteers when this stuff comes back up, familiar faces in the community where, we've got a lot of different kinds of kids, and everybody is people. So, and everybody is respected and appreciated. And if differences come up, then we talk through them. Okay, well, that's interesting. Why do you say that? Well, so it kind of gets walked through. But I appreciate everyone taking a moment to hear about the Making Foundation, and the links to all of our social media are in that previous email, but feel free to reach out to me if you've got questions, or if of some old woodworker's basement that's got a whole bunch of wood that needs to get gone, I will make it disappear.
Is it okay if I share with them your email address?
Oh yeah. Yes,
Okay.
please.
Okay. All right. Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.